So this is take 2 for my White Mountains backpacking trip. If you saw my last video, you know that I bailed, but I'm much more confident on this trip. I made a couple changes, which I think will help me a lot, and I'll tell you about those. I'm doing a full Franconia Ridge and Lonesome Lake loop, about I think 17 miles, but it is 10:15 in the morning on a Thursday, and I'm really excited for this. I'm like 0.2 miles into the hike and I've already screamed because these chipmunks are everywhere. Like I almost stepped on one. They are fearless, and also when they're in the woods, they are so loud that they sound like bears. We're off to a great start. Just a little update. I'm climbing up this mountain. I've already climbed 1,000 feet and I'm tired. I'm hot, sweaty, out of breath. And yesterday I went paddleboarding and played 9 rounds of golf, which are 2 activities that I haven't done in a long time. So I'm sore in muscles that aren't usually sore. But I'm going fast, I'm sending it, and I got a good podcast in. So I stopped at the water source at the Liberty Spring tent site. This is, if you watched the last video, this is where I was going to camp when I was doing my backpacking trip on Franconia Ridge. I'm not going to stay here tonight because I'm taking what I learned from my last backpacking trip and I'm making differences to make this one better. So I'm really excited about it. I'm just going to filter water here and then I'm going to hike onto the ridge. There is a little bit of a side trail that I could take to hike Mount Liberty, and I think I might do that because it would count for my grid. So I've never hiked Mount Liberty in May. And then I'm going to the side of the ridge where Lincoln and Lafayette are. Those are gorgeous spots, and I haven't been up there probably since the Appalachian Trail. I just filtered the water. It feels so cold. Just like all the snow is melting recently. I feel like I just did this trail a couple weeks ago and I hiked on snow for most of the day and there hasn't been any snow on the trails so far, so it all melted really quick. That break was like less than 5 minutes because I started to get cold. So now I'm hiking back up the mountain again. All right, I'm up on the ridge. I decided to do the 0.6 mile out and back total to hit Mount Liberty, but I decided to power myself up with the Snickers bar, so that convinced me. All right, made it to the Alpine Zone. It's a nicer day than I thought. Just gonna head right there to Mount Liberty. It's definitely really windy up here. Yeah, spent a good minute up here. Now I'm gonna head to the rest of Franconia Ridge, which is, yeah. So I'm done with my little out and back to Mount Liberty. I think the extra 0.6 miles was worth it. It went by pretty fast. Now I'm back on the Appalachian Trail heading towards Mount Lincoln, and then after that Mount Lafayette. And as you probably saw, the summit, it's really windy, really cold. So I think right before I get exposed again, I'm gonna stop and have my lunch. Franconia Ridge is going to be exposed for a longer period of time. It's about 2 o'clock. Right before I head up to Little Haystack Mountain, I found a nice rock to sit on, got my cookie, Probably gonna stay here for like 5 minutes. Maybe I'll have the rest of the cookie as I'm hiking. Those cookies are so filling. I was so hungry before, and then I was like struggling to eat the last couple bites. But headed up to the ridge, and I'm ready for some really good views. That's where I was a few miles ago. I just think this is one of the coolest views in the Whites. So it's the second 4,000 footer of the day. I'm going up and over Mount Lincoln right now. And now that I've reached the top of Mount Lincoln, I have a view of my next mountain, which is Lafayette. And it's not as cold and windy as I thought it was going to be up here. There are little bursts of wind here and there, but I'm still warm. The sun is really bright. And yeah, today just turned out so much better than I thought. I was nervous with like the 35-mile-per-hour winds and the partly cloudy because everything up here is like so extreme, but I got this ridge on a good day. I'm breaking out my new Pit Vipers. I actually ordered these just to wear on my wedding day. It's gonna look so good with my wedding dress. So once I get to the top of Lafayette, then I hike down this ridge and you can see the hut right there. I might take a little break there and then I'll continue hiking all the way down to like where the road is. Alright, I'm about 8.5 miles into my hike today. I took a nice little break at the Greenleaf Hut. I was able to go inside and warm up, but it was like maybe 5 minutes. Had a packet of beef jerky. So I only crave beef jerky when I'm hiking and like when I'm not feeling that well. For some reason, it's like the only thing I crave. I have a little bit of a headache. I ended up forgetting my Advil, but I think I'm fine. It's nothing big. So I'm taking Old Brittle Path down off of the mountain, and then when I get down there, I will show you where I'm camping tonight. because I know someone's gonna ask why I didn't take Callie on this hike. That's why. All right, looking at this, I reserved campsite 64. This place seems really cool. I'm really happy with this call. I'm happy that like I'm at a campground and not just like on a mountain in the Whites right now. I'm just walking. It's pretty large, trying to find site number 64. There's 60, so I'm getting close. There's a lot of sites here. 98? Whew. Here I am. This is a home. It's so cute. Now that I'm at camp, I want to go over the changes I made on this backpacking trip because of things that I learned on my last backpacking trip that I put on YouTube and bailed on. If you didn't watch the last backpacking video, I got to my campsite, set up camp, and then I, for a lot of different reasons, ended up breaking down camp and going home that night and not sleeping out there. So a couple reasons why I think that trip failed is because the trip was short. It was an out and back. I hit 2 4,000 footers and the mileage was really low. And I don't think I realized it at the time, but since I'm so used to backpacking on the Appalachian Trail, I'm used to covering a long distance when I backpack, and that trip just didn't do it for me. I didn't feel like I accomplished enough. And something I really loved about the Appalachian Trail was that every single day I was like 20 miles further and I felt like I was accomplishing a lot. But because that trip was so small and it was an out and back, I just didn't feel that sense of accomplishment. So I wasn't really happy with that situation. Also, on the last trip, I was camping really high in elevation. And because it was early in the season, I was really unsure about the weather. There was still a lot of snow on the ground. I didn't really feel comfortable about how cold it was gonna get, and so that made me nervous. And lastly, I felt too lonely. There wasn't anyone else camping near me. I didn't even know if there was someone on the whole mountain, and I just felt too isolated, too lonely, too bored, because I did get to camp way too early because that trip wasn't long. So that made me a little uncomfortable. So for this trip, I changed all those things. I made it a much longer backpacking route. I'm at like 11 miles right now, so much longer, which is gonna help me sleep at night. I'm pretty exhausted, and this took me all day. It's like 6:30 right now, which is a good time for me to get to camp. Also, I'm camping at low elevation, so all day today I hiked up that mountain and then I hiked down from that range. So I feel much safer. It's nice and warm. I don't think it's going to get too cold tonight. And also I'm at a campground. There's a lot of other people camping here. There's a camp store. So if I need anything at all, like I can go to that camp store. There's people working here. I bought a Gatorade. So I just feel safe being here. So I'm really happy about this trip. I'm happy about all the changes I made. I am still getting used to backpacking by myself because if you know, I hiked most of the Appalachian Trail with Cody, so I never really had to backpack by myself. And when I wasn't with him, there were a lot of other thru hikers and we're all out there doing the same thing. Whereas like now when I'm not on the Appalachian Trail, I don't know, I feel like I'm hiking and people are like, is she camping out here? Like, I don't know, maybe people just aren't as used to backpackers as they were when I was a thru hiker. So that's my little rant. I'm glad I learned a lot of things from my last backpacking trip and could apply them to this one. And I'm just learning. Like, I know this isn't my first backpacking trip. I've done the AT, but I don't know. It's just, you're always learning. So if you're out there about to do your backpacking trip or you went on one backpacking trip and it didn't go well, like, I don't know, take what happened and apply it to your next one and you can only get better. So I hope that helps someone. So I'm just gonna rest for a little bit and then set up camp. Also, I do want to add that this backpacking route that I'm on, I didn't come up with myself. I actually got this exact route from a book that I sell in my gift shop called Best Overnight Hikes on the Appalachian Trail. So most of this backpacking route is on the Appalachian Trail, which is awesome because that's what I'm into. And if you are looking for a backpacking route ideas in any of the 14 states that the AT goes through, check out the book. I sell it in my shop. I'll ship it to you, and I will put the link in the description. That was a mess to set up. I was worried about bringing a freestanding tent because I figured these campsites were going to be like really hard packed gravel and the tent stakes wouldn't go in that well, and I was right. So I just threw my rope over a branch. It was a great branch, perfect throw, and I tried to film it, but I wasn't in frame. But I'll show you that clip anyways, because I think you can see a tiny bit of it. So I brought these string lights. I showed them in my gear video, and like an extra battery bank. And look at this. It's lighting up my whole tent site. I only put one out, but I think it's like 30 feet long. I think I only need one. This is so cute. I had the biggest headache last night. I left my tent once because I thought I was gonna throw up, but then I didn't want to throw up because I didn't want bears to smell that. I don't know. It wasn't could have been a migraine. Usually when I get migraine, I get really dizzy, but that didn't happen, so I'm thankful for that. But yeah, my head hurt. I fell asleep just like going like this. I had to turn my twinkle lights off because it had to be pitch black. Even like the little blue dot on my phone charger, I don't know if you can see that blue dot, even that was making my head hurt. So I just had to lay here with my hands on my head in complete darkness. So right next to my tent there's a river, and then on the other side of the river there's a highway, and I kind of liked that background noise. It wasn't that bad. I slept okay. I woke up at like 11, 2, 4, and 6, but I went back to bed pretty quickly each time, so it's a good night in my tent. Alright, saying bye to my campsite last night. I'm hiking on the Lonesome Lake Trail. It's a warm morning, but this trail will be, I think, about a mile until I get to the lake. It's gonna be so beautiful. Oh, that sucks. Did someone lose their keys? And their inhaler, and their sunglasses. But up at Lonesome Lake. On the other side of the lake is the Lonesome Lake hut. So I'm gonna walk around to that side. I'm looping back to the Appalachian Trail and taking the 2.8 mile trail back to the Liberty Springs Trail because that's where I started. I stopped in the Lonesome Lake hut for a second just to say hi. I don't think it's quite open for the season yet, but there's one lady, Kathy, in there that followed along my videos on the Appalachian Trail, so that was kind of cool. Chatted with them for a little bit. Caretaker Jake was there. couple others, and I got to reminisce a little and talk about my AT through hike and my future plans, and yeah, that was nice. Okay, I've never seen this before. This rope tied above this fallen tree. Is that how we're supposed to get across the river? Oh my god, I have to try this. I dropped my trekking pole. I was using my trekking pole to hop from that rock to that rock, and I dropped it and it went down that little waterfall. I think I can scoop it up. At least I can see the handle. Oh. Whew. It's a close call. So my original plan was to keep following the AT until I got back to my car, but I think I'm gonna do this side trail because I want to check out the basin. I think I made a good call because like 10 seconds into this side trail, I've never seen this waterfall before. I didn't know it was here. And I think this whole trail is just going to be following this river. I think the basin is so cool. It's right off the highway in Franconia Ridge. So if you're just looking for like a short day hike that's like really easy, like look at this path I'm on right now. It's very accessible. So this is a good option if you're coming through the area. Highly recommend. But now I'm just on this like bike path. I'm gonna be on it for a while until I get back to the parking lot. My backpacking trip is coming to an end. This is so pretty and green. There's the parking lot. That's the end of my overnight backpacking trip in the White Mountains. I did what I'm calling the Franconia Ridge loop, hitting Franconia Ridge and Lonesome Lake. I'll stop my watch right now. That whole thing came out to 19.3 miles. I kind of made the trip my own by hitting up the basin on the way back to the car, and that was 100% worth it. Again, the exact route for what I did is in a book that I sell in my gift shop. I'll link it below. Yeah, that's gonna do it. It's the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, so I'm gonna go home, shower, and then make sure my store is ready for Memorial Day weekend because that's like the unofficial kickoff to summer. And if you don't know, I also have a YouTube channel for store related content and like what it's like running my own small business. So I'll link that below as well if you're interested. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.